by now you should all be very much familiar with Uncle Topher and Tony, and you should also know that there is an upcoming US election, which is exactly what we're going to be talking about in today's video. I think the short question I have is, who is the best president for Taiwan?
Oh no.
I expect this answer to be quite long, or is there a short answer to this question?
I don't think there's a short answer.
My personal view is Trump sees things through the lens of a businessman.
Yes.
Right? He sees everything as a businessman. Unfortunately, national security is not a money-making business. So he tried to turn that into a money-making business. For example, U.S. national security strategy since end of World War II has always been forward presence. It means the United States don't want to fight a war in our home. We fight the war in our enemy's house. To do that, you got to forward deploy. And to do forward deployment, you need friends and allies who allow you to put troops there. So the primary purpose of the forward deployment, our troops in Asia, in Europe, is to protect the homeland. Protection of our friend is a byproduct. And that is in every national security strategy since World War II, and that is in Trump's own national security strategy in 2017. 2017 version of U.S. national security strategy has forward presence to defend the homeland. I don't think he understands that.
That's just it. He doesn't understand. I'm not sure if he truly understands history very well, and there are plenty of quotes that I could point out that would support my claim there. But it is because of the U.S. military presence, especially the Navy, that global trade has been allowed to flourish without the presence of, largely without the presence of like piracy.
So what I worry about is interview Trump had with Bloomberg, where he said, if I became president, I'm going to charge Koreans $10 billion a year. That's ridiculous. The Koreans just signed an agreement to pay around $2 billion a year for host nation support. What if our enemies decide to use this against us? America just wants your money, and all of a sudden you get a whole wave of Yankee go home around the world.
Right. Okay? Which already exists to some extent.
Yeah, you just gave the enemy a bullet he can use to shoot you. So let's come back to Taiwan. If Trump becomes the president and if Kamala Harris becomes president, what should we expect? I think first thing, if Trump becomes president, he will not be giving Taiwan any free money. Presidential drawdown authority will be gone. Biden, basically up to now, is over $800 million to help boost Taiwan's self-defense capability. I think that's gone. And I also think that under Trump, there will be more arms sales because it's money-making. Unless Xi Jinping offers him a better deal. If you don't sell this to Taiwan, I would do this.
Yeah, that's the issue.
Okay, so that's what I fear. That's what I fear. Now, if Kamala Harris becomes the president, she has not spoken much about how she feels about Taiwan. However, we will expect her staff will be many ex-Biden staff. So the recommendation, presidential decision usually is from the staff making recommendations. I suspect the type of recommendation will be similar to the Biden era. So I think we can expect lots of continuity in the policy. There'll be less surprises if Kamala Harris became the president, and we should expect a lot of surprises if Trump became the president.
Expect the unexpected. Yeah, Trump was friendly to Taiwan in several different ways. Trump did sign the Taiwan Travel Act, which authorized and encouraged the government leaders from both the U.S. and Taiwan to go visit each other. And that, I think, has helped raise that trade between Taiwan and the U.S. that we've seen in the past 8 years. And Trump did authorize a lot of weapon systems to sell to Taiwan that other presidents just didn't do because they were afraid of angering China. I don't even think Trump was aware all that much of the one China policy, but even if he was, he doesn't care.
The key point of what you brought up is these acts were passed by Congress. Taiwan enjoys bipartisan support.
Yes.
Both Democrats and Republicans in the Congress supports Taiwan. And Congress in the U.S. government system, where you have executive, legislative, and the court, legal, Taiwan enjoys overwhelming support among the American people.
Right.
Much more than the Communist Chinese. That's why those were passed. And absolutely, those were good things because for the longest time, United States have the self-imposed restriction of not allowing our leaders to visit Taiwan, which is stupid. When I was in the Pentagon, we can't bring one-star general to Taiwan. And the person who's going to lead the fight is become J3 or 3-star.
Yeah.
If we're going to come protect Taiwan, this person visits Japan, Korea, Philippines all the time, look at the battlefield, understand the enemy, but never been to Taiwan. And things have changed, and obviously some of the visits are still very close hold, but there have been many general officers being here since that travel act's been passed. But that's mainly, it's not a Trump's credit. I would say the credit needs to go to U.S. Congress.
Yeah, it was a Republican congressman. I forget who started it. It just, Trump happened to sign it. I think Trump would be more willing to engage in diplomacy with Xi Jinping. I mean, he is much more willing to talk with the authoritarian leaders in the world.
That is true. He actually said in the recent interview where if he became the president, Xi Jinping wouldn't attack Taiwan because Xi Jinping is his friend. I'm not sure Xi Jinping will give up his emperor dream over friendship with Trump, but that's what Trump believes. It is true. You can fact check me, by the way. You can fact check me.
Yeah. So it's a wild game with Trump. I can't say for certain that he would be better or worse than Kamala because
it's hard to say.
Yeah, the buildup has happened under Biden and Kamala, especially in the Philippines and all that. But would U.S.-China relations be better, and would that be better for Taiwan overall if Trump was president? I don't know.
Yeah, my biggest worry is because of his personality.
Right.
If he gets pissed, he will stare down Xi.
Oh, yeah.
Would Harris have the kind of guts to go face-to-face with Xi and say, cut it out?
Or even if she did, would her message be received and respected?
Good point. Yeah, exactly. So that's one of the points that I guess is still unknown. We'll see.
How much power do they have as individual people? My knowledge about US politics is very limited, but we have the Republican and the Democratic Party. We have the Senate, we have the Congress. I'm sure we have Secretary of State, and there's a lot of people involved in US politics. How much power do these specific people have if everything else remains the same?
When it comes to foreign affairs, the president is extremely powerful because it's the president who decides who the Secretary of State is. And it's the president who is also the commander-in-chief of the military. For a very long time, Congress does not need to actually make a formal declaration of war before the U.S. engages in combat with someone. So Iraq and Afghanistan, these were not technically wars from the point of view of Congress. They were executive actions.
In the United States government system, foreign policy is the prerogative of the president, so he decides how to execute foreign policy. However, the United States system is a system of check and balances.
Yes.
Of 3 branches. So even as he executes foreign policy, he can't deviate too far away from the will of the people, which is represented by Congress. Congress can grab him back and say no.
Or the law, which is the Supreme Court.
Is Taiwan Relations Act is where Congress stepped in and say, okay, President, you made a foreign policy decision to have China become the representation, and we're going to move from Taipei to Beijing. Congress said, I disagree. I want to continue our relationship with Taiwan. Therefore, Congress passed Taiwan Relations Act. So similarly, the president have to be careful. I don't know about Trump, but would he take into consideration of congressional objections? I mean, our system have proven to work. So we hope this will restrain, no matter who's the president, going one way or another to make sure U.S. national interest is preserved as the way the American people sees it?
Yeah, a lot of it depends on which political party is in charge, has the majority vote of Congress and the Senate. So this election, although the president is a very important aspect of it, all the majority of the Congress is an important aspect as well.
So although Trump might act as more as business CEO, there's still no he can just wake up one day and hit a button and just change how the world looks like.
No, and even the military can keep them in check to a certain extent. The generals have an obligation not to follow an order which is against the Constitution. Right. They can, but I don't think they will.
Yeah, we are trained to recognize illegal orders.
Right.
You know, if our boss asks us to go out and kill civilians, we can say no.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are things that even in a military environment where you follow orders, you don't have to follow illegal orders, and we're taught to recognize illegal orders.
Exactly. And this is something that is war gamed out, by the way. The oath of the soldier is to protect the nation from enemies foreign and domestic.
In some way, you can almost look at the ones who attacked our capital on January 6th as domestic enemies. Some people disagree, think they are patriots, and I happen to believe that unless it's authorized by Congress, you can't just go on your own to go, hey, you know, that's ridiculous. You don't do that in a democracy, and that is against the law. And one of the things I worried is if Trump becomes president and all these people get pardoned, that means you can literally violate a law and get away with it. And would that split the United States internally? The people who support Trump and believe in using every way to grab power? I know it might sound a little far-fetched, but let me tell you, I worry. I worry how laws can be misinterpreted.
I worry too. I mean, we've only seen an escalation of political motivated violence.
Yeah, on
in
both
the US,
sides.
On both sides.
And let me tell you, I disagree with both. You know, political process should be peaceful.
I agree.
You know, we're not like some other third world country where every time the election happens, people die. Obviously, there's assassination attempt on Trump, and I'm totally against that. You know, let your vote do the talking.
Last time we said that the future of Taiwan depends on the mind of Xi Jinping. If we compare the election that we just had here in Taiwan with the now upcoming US election, which election is most important, and how are those two different best case scenarios versus the worst case scenarios?
My personal opinion is that the elections in Taiwan are more important for the future of Taiwan than the elections in the United States. Because, as we already said, in the United States, a free Taiwan, a free democratic Taiwan is a bipartisan issue in the U.S. Almost everyone in the United States wants to see Taiwan free and peaceful and an ally of the U.S. Everybody who has a little bit of power in the U.S., no matter what kind you're talking about, you know, financial, military, political, they understand that Taiwan is an important cornerstone to American technology. And American technology is the thing that separates America's military might from the rest of the world. So it's extremely important to keep Taiwan a friend to the U.S.
I agree. I think the election in Taiwan is more important to demonstrate the path that the people of Taiwan wants to go down, allow Taiwan to remain a beacon of hope for freedom and democracy of Chinese on the mainland. If Taiwan all of a sudden became weak and allowed China to absorb it, then there's no hope. And I suspect most of the people on China, while living okay, if they ever experienced the type of freedom Taiwan has, where you can criticize your leader if you want to.
Exactly.
You can vote for another person.
Yes.
You can make YouTube videos.
Yeah,
exactly. No, that's exactly it.
You can get used to that freedom. And once you get that freedom, you're not going back.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the fear of Communist Party. So we want to keep that beacon alive. Therefore, the election of Taiwan, which demonstrated to China once again, Taiwan people wants to go its own way. They don't want anything to do with you. And Topher is exactly right. The support for Taiwan in the United States is a constant. No matter who gets elected to become president, that support, the method of support might be different, but support nonetheless.
Speaking about the Trump, and that basically you never really know what to expect with Trump. He did make a statement saying that Taiwan was supposed to start, so Taiwan had to pay for its defense. As far as I thought that we already did pay for our defense.
I think this is another one of those things, maybe Trump is not as well informed.
Lukas, when Trump said that, and this is not going to sound very flattering, but I honestly think that Trump thought that the U.S. had a base maintained here in Taiwan, like there is in Japan and South Korea and Germany. I think that Trump thought that there was a U.S. military presence here, like a permanent presence here. I don't think he understands that that's not the case. And I think that's why he said that.
And try to make U.S. military sound like an insurance policy.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and I took offense to that. You know, I'm not a mercenary.
Yeah.
I'm not an insurance policy for a foreign country.
Now,
You know.
Trump is really smart with a lot of things. He's a great entertainer. He can work up a crowd. He can send a message that will ultimately benefit him in the long run. But he is not smart on other things. I mean, like there was a speech he had with Elon Musk, a rally. He returned to the spot where he got shot in the ear, and Elon Musk was at this rally, and he was talking about Elon Musk sending Starlink support to the hurricane-hit areas in the U.S. And Trump said, I didn't even know what Starlink is. Isn't this amazing? I'm like, what? That's kind of important. You should probably know what that is. You know, a lot of what Trump says, you just can't take it too seriously.
As simply put as possible, like Trump is a businessman. Right. Kamala Harris will be a little bit more the standard politician that we might be used to via Joe Biden. No,
I would say she'd be actually more of just a puppet of the staff. I'm not going to flatter Kamala Harris. She honestly hasn't done or said anything that I found very impressive. Is that necessarily a bad thing for the world or for the U.S.? I don't think she's going to be very effective if she gets elected.
Yeah, if she surrounds herself with good people, then I think a lot of good things will happen. What you don't want is a president who thinks he's a king, that he knows everything, he doesn't read reports, and he makes decisions based on his own perception. That is dangerous.
Last question. After the U.S. election, what are you worried about? What are you paying a little bit more extra attention to after the election? And what can the average viewer like me, who don't really follow this like day to day like you guys do, is there anything that we should look extra carefully at after the election?
It really depends on how the election goes. My big fear is that it's going to be a very, very close race. And if it's a Trump loss in a very close race, expect to see something similar to January 6th, where a lot of Americans feel that the election was rigged and was stolen from them, and Donald Trump should be the president. That would just cause instability within the U.S., which could further affect just the economy and supply lines and all sorts of stuff down the road. So that's probably what I'll be looking at mostly. Will that affect Taiwan relations? Probably not very much. Maybe in a short-term reaction.
Yeah, I think Topher's right, because our enemies are injecting false information, try to tear the country apart, radicalize both ends.
Yeah.
Both the conservatives and the liberals.
Yeah.
So the danger of such activity like January 6th after a close race and Trump loses is there. I'm very concerned as far as for Taiwan. It all depends on who is the Secretary of State and Secretary of Defense, who either one picks. I think, once again, policy is usually driven by staff because the president can't know everything. Okay, I remember in the old days when I was still in the Pentagon, we prepared briefing books for candidates. The two-party candidates get elected. They have the right to come to the Pentagon and get defense briefing. We give them detailed briefings of all of our defense policy. Most of the time, the actual member comes over, receive the big one briefing, then the staffer, their primary staff remains, the defense staff remains and receive briefing from us. Trump administration, I understand, was the exception. His staff never received or asked for the briefing, but it's necessary. If you want a good transition, you should, because it's not just Defense Department. Obviously, I'm only aware of Defense Department. I suspect all the other departments, it's part of the required transition activities. Depends on who Secretary of State and Secretary of Defense is. That will impact how Taiwan is treated, the overall policy and activities toward Taiwan.
Yeah, I think if Trump's elected after the election, it will be interesting to see if he actually puts 200% tariffs on everything coming into the U.S., all imports, or if he decides to make exceptions for certain countries.
Yeah,
I think he would have to.
Yeah, he can't do that. Yeah.
But I think tariffs could likely raise under either.
Tariffs actually is inflationary. because it drives up prices, all the imports, right? It doesn't necessarily make U.S. goods more attractive, especially some things that are not produced in the United States. You can only have foreign source, so stuff like that. And the objective is to have more domestic consumption, increase domestic competition
and manufacturing.
But it will also means consumer price increase.
Right. Yeah. Either way, the price is going up.
Therefore, it's inflationary, and I hope that people recognize that.
I think this election will determine the fate of Ukraine much more than it will Taiwan, because the big difference between the foreign policy stances between these two candidates mostly lies with the relationship between Russia.
Okay, I think that will be a topic for another video, maybe on Uncle Topher's channel. Thank you both so much for coming here, and thank you all so much for watching as well. And if you haven't already, please do remember to subscribe to this channel, and also check out all the other videos we have done in this series down in the description below. Thank you all so much for watching. My name is Lukas. It starts with L as in like, ends with S, and subscribe. Please do both, and see you all in the next one.